बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। डेयरी फार्मर्स, आज मेरे साथ जो बंदा बैठा है ये पाकिस्तान में आप इसको काफ़ी जानते हैं, इसको देखा भी हुआ होगा। ये तबरेज़ वगैरह के बड़े क्लोज़ फ्रेंड हैं, ऑफ कोर्स हमारे भी फ्रेंड हैं। और डेयरी वीक इसकी लाइफ है। ये मेरा जब से डेयरी वीक शुरू हुआ है ये हमारे साथ है। एंड्रयू यंगर, और इससे पूछते हैं कि इसका बैकग्राउंड क्या है और बाकी चीज़ें क्या, और ये पाकिस्तान की डेयरी को कैसे देखता है, क्योंकि ये बड़ा इन बंदा है। सो एंड्रयू, थैंक यू वेरी मच फॉर योर टाइम। टेल अस अबाउट योरसेल्फ।
I was when I left school, town background. When I left school, I always wanted to be a dairy farmer. So I went to an agricultural college and got a diploma of applied science in agriculture. That was 40 years ago. I've always had an interest in pedigree jerseys. So when I left college, I bought my first few cows. I've then bred those cows for 40 years. 3 years ago, I dispersed the milking herd because, unlike Pakistan, our water is finite. We have to rely on rainfall in dams to give us water supply. So our water price can fluctuate markedly. It can go from $70 a megalitre up to, in the dry times, can go up to $600 a megalitre. Which makes things very difficult for us because when we normally ideally graze cows on pasture, and in this area in northern Victoria that's got to be grazed on irrigated pasture.
Translate that in Urdu to your friend. That's what you do normally, translation. So Andrew को तकरीबन 40 साल हो गए हैं काउज इंडस्ट्री में बेसिकली मिल्किंग करते हुए। उसके पहले इसने डिप्लोमा किया है एग्री के रिलेटेड, और 3 साल पहले इसने अपना हर्ड जो है वो डिस्पर्स किया है, और अब इसकी कुछ काउज दूसरी एडजस्टमेंट में है, मगर इसका 40 साल तक बड़ा एक्सपीरियंस है। अभी मैं एंड्रू से पूछता हूँ कि पाकिस्तान के रिलेटेड के, I'm gonna ask you about Pakistan a bit later, but first tell me, usually I don't have much time to look at all the stuff, but some stuff I look at, I can see, and it's not very hard to see. You've got very micro knowledge of how to look at the traits and how to improve overall genetic level. Where did you learn that, from milking to genetics?
I've always had an interest in breeding quality stock. As a pedigree, as a stud breeder, I've always been interested in trying to improve both type and production, because one without the other, you're not going to. Well, if you get a production bull that hasn't got type, that animal's not going to last. But if it's got the wrong type, then it's not going to milk. So we've learnt how to read bull proofs and what are the major functional traits on a cow that need improving. And so I've always tended to try to match a bull with the cow's weakness. So if I've got a cow with, say, high pins, then I want a bull that's going to level that rump out so that I don't get calving issues, or I don't get problems that can be caused by high pins. Same with bad feet. I like a cow that's a little bit stronger through the chest than a lot of people. So I try to steer away from narrow-chested cows.
And having an open chest is pretty important in your grazing.
In our grazing system, a cow's got to consume a lot of grass.
Yeah.
And we need a stronger cow than they need in the US.
Yeah.
Because the US because they're...
We'll come to that.
Yeah.
We'll come to that. And that's a very important point.
Well,
I'll translate this one into Urdu, and then we'll come to that point. That's a very important point. ओके, एंड्रयू का कहना है बेसिकली कि जब से ये स्टड ब्रीडर रहा है तब से ही इनको बुल की जो ट्रेड्स हैं पढ़ने मजबूरी थी इनकी, और फिर आहिस्ता 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 इन्होंने आइडियल काऊ की सर्च में फिर इसने ये वो सारा सीखा। और हमें ऑफ कोर्स इज़ गुड मैन, हमें हेल्प करता रहता है थ्रू आउट। बेचारा जितना समटाइम इसको वहाँ पे ऑफेंड भी हम करते हैं, बट ही स्टिल कीप्स ऑन गोइंग और हमें वहाँ से हेल्प करता रहता है। और इसमें बड़ा लर्निंग है, लाइक अगर अपने पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू और ट्रेड वैल्यू में अगर फार्मर्स को बताता है, सो इट्स अ ह्यूज लर्निंग। I don't need to explain you much about Pakistan's feeding system. You know, guy from 2 cows who's holding them up and feeding them right there, and then you know the modern TMR system where HRM. Probably if you've seen that. What do you think? I'm pretty convinced, and that could be biased because I'm with Genetic Australia and I've lived in Australia. That could be biased, but I still find, and I'm pretty certain that don't get me wrong, there are a lot of good North American bulls who are suited to Pakistan conditions as well, but the way you guys created the cows, you've created for yourself. But I find we can take advantage of that and can use similar strategy over there, because I find Australian cow still best suited to Pakistani condition.
Yeah, well, our cow, the difference between our cow and the US cow is our cow's got grades, and our majority of farmers here, they will try to use as much. And I tend, when I look at bulls, to look at the cow families behind those bulls. To me, cow families are vital breeding, and you then want not only you want good cow families that can repeat their breeding ability, but you also want a sire stack that is going to help. But one without the other doesn't work.
एंड्रू का बेसिकली शॉर्ट अगर मैं समरी करूं तो यही है कि काउ फैमिली भी पीछे होनी चाहिए और विद जीनोमिक गाइड के साथ दोनों मिलके एक बहुत अच्छा मैच बन सकता है। और ऑस्ट्रेलिया में अच्छे बुल जो हैं वो कुछ यूरोप से आते हैं, कुछ अमेरिका से, तो अच्छा ब्लेंड बन के अब इन्होंने एक अपना जीनोमिक सेट कर लिया है। Andrew, anything you want to say to your particular farmers?
See, when I'm talking about genetics then, lately there's been a handful of Australian Jersey bulls that are getting sold into the US market because they need something different. They're realising they're lacking chest. They're also looking for something with a different pedigree. If you look at the US proofs at the moment, the number one chest width bull in the US is Aussie Gold. There are other bulls that are getting used over there. Bontino's getting used over there. Askin is getting used over there. So they're starting to look elsewhere. The problem is that because they won't exchange genomic databases from one country to another. I know Australia has tried pushing hard, but the companies want to look after their own turf. Until we get those genomic databases exchanged, we won't get accurate genomics between countries.
एंड्रयू का कहना है कि, और ये ट्रू भी है कि हमारे पास जो ओजी गोल्ड है वो अब यूएस में बहुत यूज़ हो रहा है, एस्किन बहुत यूज़ हो रहा है, मरैंड जो मेरे नॉलेज में है वो यूज़ हो रहा है, और बाकी बुल भी यहाँ पे वहाँ पे बहुत यूज़ होते हैं। देखिए वहाँ पे जब यहाँ का बुल वहाँ जाता है तो ऑफकोर्स उसको रिग्रेशन का सामना होता है, वो उनके प्रूफ में बिल्कुल फिट नहीं आता, और फिर जब हम पाकिस्तान में उसको देखते हैं तो वो प्रूफ फिर कम्प्लीटली डिफरेंट नज़र आता है। पर हमें अपने हिसाब से देखना है कि हमें क्या सूट करता है। एनीथिंग फॉर द बॉयज?
Look, I get asked a lot on feeding cows. I'm not a nutrition. I have a basic understanding of nutrition, but the biggest gains you can make on a return for money are feeding cows properly. And I firmly believe any cow in Pakistan, I don't care whether she's a Kolistani, whether she's a Sahiwal, if she's fed properly, she's going to do a minimum of 15, 18 litres, fed properly and managed well. The cows that you guys are importing are capable of doing 25, 30 litres plus, because that's what they do here. Yeah. But if you don't feed them, you've wasted your money.
एंड्रू का कहना है कि बहुत सारे लोग मुझसे पूछते हैं कि मैं क्या फीड करता हूँ। देखें, कह रहे हैं कि मैं न्यूट्रिशन नहीं हूँ, आप उनको अच्छा फीड करेंगे तो साहिवाल वाली भी है, वो भी आपको अच्छा दूध दे सकती है, बट सर्टेन अमाउंट ऑफ टाइम तक। यू गेट अ लॉट, एंड आई सॉ योर टेक्स्ट मैसेजेस we are planning to import cattle to Pakistan, you have to be very specific. I saw you show me few messages. This is an issue because of the trust.
Yep.
They think that we might be a middleman, might be making. Let me complete the question because it's very important. They think that we make tons of money in it, and I can look in the eye and I can tell how much we make, and you can tell them the price we are advertising. If you convert that, we're probably asking $3,400 US for a normal, conventional, commercial pregnant. You tell the boys how much a lead cattle cost here and how much it costs to take them over there and how much there is a margin for the middleman. मैंने एंड्रू से ये पूछा है और आप व्यूज़ की आंखों में आंखें डाल के ये बात करना ज़रूरी है कि इम्प्रेशन ये होता है कि मिडलमैन बहुत पैसा बना रहा है कैटल एक्सपोर्ट से. ये आपको ब्रेक डाउन करके बताएगा कि कैटल इंपोर्ट में कितना यहाँ पे क्या एक्सपेंस है, ऑस्ट्रेलिया के क्या डायनामिक्स है, कितना चाइना का इन्फ्लुएंस है. इनको कोई बार नहीं है कि यूएस से कैटल वहाँ आ रही है, यानी चाइना की ह्यूज डिमांड है. हम क्यों कैटल यहाँ पे लाना चाह रहे हैं कि ताकि ये पता चले कि ये जेनेटिक्स भी पावरफुल है और देन आवर जेनेटिक्स कैन गो विद इट. और इंशाल्लाह जब वो मिल्किंग पे आएंगे कट्टी कट्टा तभी निकल जाएगा. कैन यू टेल एक्सप्लेन दोस बॉयज हु टेक्सटिंग यू एज वेल?
I often get people texting me asking if they can buy 5 animals. Now, for me to go to a farmer and buy an unjoined Jersey heifer is going to be about $1,800. Just to buy an ordinary run-of-the-mill unjoined Jersey heifer is going to cost me about $1,800. To go and buy a Holstein heifer, unjoined, same weight, $2,200. That's what the farmer gets paid. Now, that's going to work out. I'm roughly can you convert that to US dollars?
$2,200 ऑस्ट्रेलियन में हॉल्स्टेन जो आम है, आम जो मिलती है, जस्ट बहुत स्पेशली आम मिलती है, और 1800 आम जो जर्सी है वो अवेलेबल वो मिलती है. और फिर आपको उसने लाना है, एडजस्टमेंट में करना है, उसने वेट करना है, फिर उसको AI प्रोग्राम में है. आप अपना डू योर नंबर $20 $50 के पर डे के एडजस्टमेंट के चार्ज होते हैं. Tell them how much is it to get the. I went to Wala, I went to Brian Dixon. I went to. If we need to get cattle from them or Callister Holstein, can you tell them how much is it?
When I had a guy ring me or message me a while back, he wanted to import 5 heifers. So I rang. I had to find an export company that had quarantine facilities. I don't have an export license, so that guys have to have. They've also got to have an export license on the Pakistan end. And to send a box on a plane which could fit 5 Jersey heifers in is $20,000 US. And that's just for the quarantine and to freight her. The only way to reduce that freight cost and quarantine cost is to get a boatload. And I think boatload's 5,000 head? 3 to 5,000 head on a boat?
You can get up to 1,500 as well.
Yeah, righto.
You can get up to 50. Basically, एंड्रू का कहना है कि मुझे लोग कहते हैं यार 5 एनिमल दे दो, 2 एनिमल दे दो. It doesn't work like मंडी here. So अगर आपने वो क्रेट बुक कराना है तो क्रेट वो आपको मैसिवली एक्सपेंसिव पड़ेगा. और आपको इसने कमर्शियल बताया है. Can you tell them elite cattle price?
Elite cattle price?
Like Savala, Brian Dixon.
Look, if even if I want to go better,
obviously आप ये बाकियों से भी कंफर्म कर सकते हैं. एंड्रू यंगर क्योंकि इन तो I wanna ask him.
I can go better quality animals, and you could be paying $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 for them. Elite sales, I can tell you with 2 Jersey dispersals they had recently, milking herd dispersals, one averaged for 170 head, averaged $5,800.
We both share that.
The other one that I know friends personally, they averaged $5,100. And that was from complete cows. Top prices at those sales for the top end cows, one was $28,000. There was 5 cows at that sale sold over 20.
On average, they're about
and the other one was 20,000. So it depends on the animal.
सो तकरीबन जो एलीट हर्ड है यहाँ पे $5,000 पे 2 डिस्पर्सल सेल हुई हैं, मगर जो एलीट एनिमल है वो $4,000 से $5,000 आंखें बंद करके यहाँ पे आता है, $4,000 से $5,000 आराम से. Well, thank you very much, Andrew. If lastly you want to put anything
to put that in perspective, they were stud Jersey sales. If I go to a commercial Holstein sale, they would be averaging around at the moment. Milking cows at the moment are expensive. They would be averaging about $3,000. But the big thing getting cows to Pakistan is the freight cost. Yeah. It costs to get into a quarantine facility from the farms here would be $100 a head, 50 to 100, depending on where they've got to go. 50 to $100. Plus you've got boat costs. Plus you've got import costs.
Yeah. So boys, Andrew का क्योंकि ये पाकिस्तानी फार्मर के साथ इन प्रोग्रेसिव डेयरी फार्मर पे एडमिन भी है, तो इसका एक पर्सपेक्टिव आपको दिया है कि ओवरऑल यहाँ पे कैटल कैसे वर्क करती है और कैटल की प्राइसेस क्या हैं. $4,000 से $5,000 में जो अच्छी कैटल आपको मिलेगी, इससे कम आपको नहीं मिलेगी. एंड बाकी भी अगर आपके बीच में कोई क्वेश्चन है आप पूछ सकते हैं. फिर इन बॉटम लाइन ये है कि अगर कैटल लेनी है फिर उसको एडजस्टमेंट में रखना है, उसके मरने का खौफ, उसको सिंक्रनाइज AI, फिर आगे से पाकिस्तानी टैक्सेस हैं. यस, ज़्यादा कैटल होगा तो आप उसमें से 4 पैसे भी बना सकते हैं. ओके, अगर आई आस्क यू अ क्वेश्चन, you know the bulls we are selling over there.
I know some. Yes,
Yeah, you know some. About 90% of them are active bulls, which are your farmers are using here. What do you think these genetics will do over there in Pakistan? How well they will perform? I'm confident because we are using it at HRM.
I'm confident because 90% of the bulls that you're importing are bulls that we are buying. Like the Askren bull is a bull I'm using. The Invincible bull is a bull I'm using. Aussie Gold's a bull I've used. Azuka will be a bull that I plan to use. I know that bull's pedigree very well. I worked on the farm that's bred him. You know, and I know the breeders of the Jersey bulls that are going out there. With the Holstein bulls, I also know from working at times as an AI technician that the bulls that are being sold are the bulls that farmers here are using. They're not old bulls that have passed their use by date. They're current active bulls here. It's too expensive for Australian companies to store semen from old bulls on the chance they might sell them.
Boys, क्योंकि ये AI टेक्नीशियन है तो ये बता सकता है. एस्कन और रोजी गोल्ड तो ये अपने फार्म पे भी यूज़ कर रहा है. बहुत पॉपुलर बुल है जो हमारे पास वहाँ पे मौजूद है. और बाकी जो बुल हैं वो भी हमारे एक्टिव हैं. बीइंग अ टेक्नीशियन यहाँ के फार्मर्स अभी भी यूज़ कर रहे हैं. और यही मैं बार बार आपको बताता हूँ कि चैलेंज करें, सबको सामने लाएँ कि किन के एक्टिव बुल हैं. जो हमारे पास मे बुल है, सिंगुलर है, अभी जिंदा है. उनकी सिंगुलर इज़ नॉट, क्योंकि वो उसकी टांग ब्रेक हो गई थी. बाकी सारे यूज़ हो रहे हैं और हाई डिमांड में. One thing I gotta ask you, you see a lot of bulls on Progressive Dairy Farm which are farmer using.
Yeah.
Are they worth even to look at?
Look, some are, some aren't. I mean, and I suppose I've been critical of bulls. And I know at times I've seen bulls that have got extremely short teats. The rest of the proofread's all right, but they've been -2 standard deviations on a US proof for teatling. Those teats are going to be about this long. There's no way knowing you're ever going to hand milk them, and they're going to be hard to machine milk. So when I look at those bulls, I look not only at their production, I look at their health traits, I look at their type faults, and to me, if a bull's not going to improve your production, he's not worth doing. You can't use a bull, and I get asked it a lot, you can't ask someone a bull, oh, if I use this bull, how much production I'll get. Genetics doesn't work like that. You can't give a comment on how much production the daughters are going to average unless you know how they're fed. And I know on a lot of bulls that are put out, they will have daughter production averages. Well, that's on an ideal system in the US.
Yeah.
Not on the system here.
Basically, एंड्रू का यही कहना है कि मेरे से ये पूछा जाता है इस बुल को यूज़ करेंगे तो कितना दूध होगा. दूध बहुत डिपेंडेंट होता है फीड पे. और एंड्रू कहता है कि ज़्यादातर जो बुल या ओवरऑल जो बुल उसने देखे हैं उसमें कुछ अच्छे भी हैं, कुछ बुरे भी हैं, और ये भी मेरा कहना है कुछ अच्छे भी हैं, कुछ बुरे भी हैं। इसीलिए मैं कहता हूँ जो हमारे बुल हैं उनको भी कटहरे में लाएं और जो बाकी बुल हैं उनको भी कटहरे में लाएं। अल्लाह हाफिज़, अपना ख्याल रखिएगा। कल आपको मज़ीद डेयरी शो में ज़रा दिखाएंगे। ठीक है, थैंक यू वेरी मच, अल्लाह हाफिज़।